This particular example is a 2012 Chrysler 200. Now, it's not a bad looking car. Decent lines to it. The paint and body and the wheels, hey, they're still in pretty good shape. Ooh, and it's got dual exhaust. Look at that. They only made it from 2011 to 2017. They stopped making them. Now, to begin with, I'm not a Chrysler fan, so I always wonder, why do people buy these things? And if you look back at history, it even makes less sense. This was like a $26,000 car when it was new. Back in 2012, you could have got a brand new Toyota Camry with a V6 engine for the same price, $26,000. Why would you even think about buying one of these things? Now we open the hood. We can see it's got a big 3.6 liter V6 variable valve timing. And it's made it to inside here a 6-speed automatic transmission. Now this engine puts out 283 horsepower, so it's got reasonable amount of power. It's zippy enough, but then again, it was a Chrysler V6 engine. Now they always try to claim that they fixed the problems. This is one of the earlier ones, 2012. They started making these in 2011, and these engines had serious problems. They had various engine problems, but the main one was, seems they put substandard engine bearings in the engine that the engine internal parts ride on, the bearings. They're lubricated by oil, and they let the engine go around without seizing up. Well, a bunch of them did seize up because they didn't build them right. And that's the engine. Let's get into the transmission. 6-speed transmission called the 62TE. And it was loaded with problems. Now, of course, they claim we fixed them as time went on. Well, Scotty says they really didn't. But these had serious problems getting stuck in limp home mode, shifting poorly. So much that they had 9 design changes, software changes. And it was so bad that under class action lawsuits, Chrysler, they would waive the $100 analysis fee when you take it to the dealer, fix all the ones for free. These are called Ultra Drive transmissions, Ultra, my rear end, and they said that if they could not fix the transmissions free, they would buy the cars back from the customers. Buyback was only in the United States. They didn't offer it anywhere else. Well, 2017, they stopped making these things. They got such a bad reputation as being such junkers. As I said earlier, why anybody would have even considered buying one of these Chrysler 200s when they could have got a Camry for the same price. But unfortunately, quite a few people were fooled and did buy these things. Some of them probably said, oh, let's buy American and help the American economy. You know, these things are made in Michigan. They were fooled by the looks, and when you look inside, as you can see, they're still relatively snazzy looking. Black chrome trim, got a nice instrument panel, open screen, got the obligatory sunroof, and these seats are still pretty comfortable, I'll give them that. Plus, when we go to the back, they got a reasonable amount of room in the back, not gigantic. Yeah, it's an economy car, so there's no AC ducts coming out of the back like a nice car would. So in that respect, basically, they were selling an economy car at non-economy prices. And we pop the trunk. Still works. We can see, got a reasonably big trunk. It's comfy inside. And like I said, the fancy wheels it came with are still in decent shape. Cosmetically, it's a decent looking car. But as I've often warned people, looks can be deceiving. Very deceiving in this case. They're not dependable cars. They stopped making them after 6 years. It just kind of fell apart when people saw what clunkers they were. Engine problems, transmission problems. People ran away from these things in droves, and that's why they're not making them anymore. We'll take this one for a spin and see how it goes. So we'll go inside, start her up. It does start right up, I'll give them that. And the AC, hey, blows nice and cold, that's working. Now this particular one, even though it's 8 years old, it's only got 48,000 miles on it, which is lucky for the owner because the engine's still in good shape. It has enough mileage for it to wear out, and the same thing for the transmission. It doesn't have enough mileage that it's going to be all worn out. If this thing had 100-something thousand miles on it, it would probably be falling apart. Only having 48,000 miles, it still actually rides decent because, of course, the struts don't wear out that fast, even in a Chrysler. Now we'll give it a little gas. It's got some horsepower still, and it still shifts decent. That's how they sold these things. People want to drive fast. For a short period of time, they do run fast and pretty smooth. But this one already has serious front end problems. You can see, look at that steering wheel. It's wobbling all over the place, and we're only going 15 miles an hour. We're going to have to check that out in another video. And even with the AC running, I got the fan on low, it's a pretty quiet, smooth car. I'll give it that. But of course, looking at the overall picture, it's indefensible that They have engines with bad bearings that would go out. They have automatic transmissions that they made all these different redesigns on it because they didn't build them right in the first place. And yeah, this baby's only got 48,000 miles on it. It's running okay now, other than the front end's all messed up. Like I said, if this thing had 100-something thousand miles on it, I can guarantee you the engine wouldn't be running like that and the transmission wouldn't be shifting like it is now. It's only got 48,000 miles in 8 years. That's not any kind of a test of the longevity of a car. Now, if you absolutely positively wanted one of these things, you're looking for a used one, and you can find one with low mileage like this, you can pick them up for a song and a dance. They have no resale value since they don't make them anymore. I've had customers pick these things up for $2,000. And if they find one that's only got 40, 50,000 miles that maybe an elderly couple drove, they can be a fun car for that cheap amount of money. If you found a V6 Toyota Camry with 48,000 miles on it, you're not going to get it for $2,000. You're going to pay probably 5 or 6 times that. So in a pinch, you get one of these used cheap, if only if it had low mileage. You could have a fun little toy. But I pity the people who bought these things brand new for $25,000, $26,000 loaded and kept them for over 100,000 miles. They're going to be having problems up the zoo. As they said, if they couldn't fix this transmission free, they'd buy the car back from you. But wait till you see what they pay the buyback. One fraction of what you paid for the car. You know, they always give these big promises. Oh, we'll buy it back. It's like those ads on TV. Don't worry about fixing your house. We buy any homes. Yeah, and they pay you $20,000 for a house that's probably worth $100,000. They'll buy it, but they won't give you much money for it. Oh yeah, and before I forget, these 2012s also had problems with the number 2 valve seats, and they had to have their heads replaced. The top of the engine on one side, the number 2 side, would break down and you'd have to rebuild the engine. You know, just another proof that these things were not very well made and do not hold up over time. So we can all say bye-bye to the Chrysler 200, and as far as I'm concerned, good riddance. Here's a 2012 GLK350. Now, when they're new, you could have got one of these for between $40,000 and $60,000. So needless to say, they weren't giving the things away. Now, this particular one, it's a 2-wheel drive version. Rear-wheel drive, classic rear-wheel drive. It's not all-wheel drive. And now that this thing is 8 years old, it goes for about 1/3 of its original price. Realistically, it's lost about 2/3 of its original price in 8 years. Now, they're not over-brimming with power. It's got a V6 engine, puts out about 268 horsepower. It's no slug, but it's no race car either. And in a city, this thing gets about 15 miles a gallon if you drive it conservatively. Now, that isn't surprising. A vehicle that weighs over 2 tons, the thing weighs over 4,000 pounds. Makes them ride decently. They're comfy inside. Typical Mercedes-Benz comforts. Leather seats, a typical Mercedes. It's cracking here. They always end up cracking there. Got a lot of space in the back. Dual sunroofs. And when we get inside, got the usual little small back. You can put the seats down like any SUV and carry a reasonable amount of stuff in it. It's got the luggage rack so you can put even more stuff on top if you want to. But of course, it's a Mercedes-Benz. That's why this thing, 8 years old, has already lost 2/3 of its value. Now I'm going to scan it because the customer wants me to check it out with my fancy scan tool. We'll see what's going on inside it electronically. So we plugged it in, and now comes the fun. We'll turn the key on, so the idiot lights are on, the car's not running. Push the old Mercedes-Benz button, and away we go. Even it takes a while just to initialize the system. That pretty much shows you the complexity of these Mercedes. They are uber complex. Okay, now it's initialized. Now it's going to scan. That's going to take a while too. It's running through. Their idea of quick and mine, 2 completely different universes. I guess they mean quick in terms of geological time here. It's only got 2 codes for the tire pressure monitoring system, which is no big deal. Fault for the right front door, which is no big deal. Now we'll look at some of the live data. See what kind of information comes out. We'll check out test failures or driving the full load range. Now right away I can see this data is bad. Red means bad. You can see it's out of specs, but when I rev it up, you can feel the engine isn't running right. It got a little into the black here. But now as you can hear when I rev it up under the engine, listen. You can hear a little, but I feel shudder. This engine has problems. It's a used vehicle, and I even think that they cheated on the mileage. It says it has 83,673 miles on it. But when I check on the computer, it says 134,661 miles on it. So they were cheated. This isn't the real mileage on the car. And even though it didn't show serious trouble codes yet on the OBD information, realize the OBD information is the tip of the iceberg. When some of that information goes too far to put the check engine light on, can't get your car inspected, but the data that this computer gets is much deeper, and as you can see, the data for the cams was way off, and I can feel it rumble when I accelerated it up and down. Shame we don't have rumble feature like in those old movies where they shook the seats when they had earthquakes, because you would have felt it. This engine is not long for the earth. And it may be a Mercedes-Benz V6 engine, but they are insanely complex inside. Having these things worked on cost a fortune. You have to replace an engine like this, the sky's the limit. Thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So in this particular case, not a smart idea buying this used. It was 2/3 cheaper than a brand new one, but it doesn't have much life left in its engine. Now there's no arguing that Minis are cute cars. In this case, it's a John Cooper works. It's got a tricked out 6-speed standard transmission. And it's certainly telling you what it is. It puts out 228 horsepower. When this car was made, the normal one, just the plain old Mini, put out 121 horsepower. Yes, if you have a normal one, back in 2015, a lot of people in the United States getting them with automatic transmissions, they could barely get out of their own way. There's no arguing that. Now when you open the hood, you can see what's happening under here. Or I should have said you can't see what's happening under here because it's so cramped in with stuff, you can't really see anything. But if we take off the stupid beauty cover, we can see underneath it's turbocharged. It also has an upgraded exhaust system, intake manifold, exhaust manifold, a remapped ECU main control unit so that it'll go faster. It's actually a quite zippy car. You got to realize one thing with these Minis. It doesn't have that much in common with the original Mini. The original Mini weighed less than 1,300 pounds. This thing weighs 3,627 pounds. It's a much heavier vehicle. Now some of them are made in England, some of them are made in the Netherlands. They're all made by BMW. We'll open the door here and check this one out. Here we go right here. It's made by BMW, which can be a very good thing performance-wise, but a very bad thing repair cost-wise. The parts on these things will make your head spin. This particular one was about a $35,000 car. But my customer bought this used for about $14,000, and even now it's only got 34,000 miles on it. So as you can see, they depreciate very rapidly, just like regular BMWs do. They're very expensive cars to repair. All those cars generally have relatively low resale value because of that. Do they really fall apart right away? Well, the answer to that is no. Now, high mileage ones, generally, they're on their last legs. You can buy a car with this low mileage for a fraction of what it originally went for. It can actually be a fun car to drive around. Just make sure you have full coverage. Body parts are expensive too, so they get wrecked. They cost a fortune to repair. So make sure you always have full coverage and maintain the vehicle. But being built and here in the United States, serviced at BMW dealerships are so expensive to maintain at the dealer. That's why this car is here. He saw some servicing he needed at the dealer, and it was astronomical what they wanted for just some basic things. Now, a lot of the parts are made by BMW. Software is all stuff with BMW. I work on BMW, so I got all the equipment for them. You can find lots of mechanics if they work on BMWs, other European cars. They're going to have equipment to work on these things. But anybody who's ever owned a BMW and had it serviced regularly at a BMW dealer, they know the insane high cost that they have there. In that respect, the Minis are no different. They are astronomical if you maintain them at the dealer. Now granted, the earlier ones had engine problems. My neighbor had one, blew the engine in it. But that was long before this one. The engines are pretty solid. I do have to say, you change the oil regularly in them, it's going to last. They're solid built engines. BMW always made solid built engines. And being so low to the ground, hey, these aren't cars you're going to drive through any type of water. You'll suck water and blow the engine. But being low to the ground and a very tricked out suspension system, these things are a lot of fun to drive around. They really corner well. And this one, it's a sport version, but it does have a reasonable amount of space in the back. Just take this into consideration. Here, the seats are folded back. When the seats are folded up, you're not going to have comfortable large people sitting in the back by any stretch of the imagination. But for the driver and the passenger, they have very comfortable molded seats. They are excellent seats. And if you're in the sunroofs, it's got the crazy double sunroof, front and back. You like sun, this is the vehicle for you. I guess they get so little sun in England, they want to have it wide open whenever it is sunny so they can get some sun. Here in Texas, you're going to roast to death. First thing you're going to do is shut those babies down. And I do have to say the dashes and everything are pretty well appointed. If you're a serious driver, we'll start it up. As you can see, speedometer's here, tachometer's right next to it. So you can do your shifts right. You don't have to take a look to the left or right. It's all right in front of you. And it does make a decent sound. And it's got a cool side dash display for all kinds of electronic stuff you want to mess around with. The modern obligatory zillion buttons on the steering, so you can mess with everything without taking your hands off the steering wheel. Now when we jack up the car, you can get a little more idea about how it actually functions. As we go under, you can see it's a classic Mini, front wheel drive. There's a drive shaft. It drives only the front wheels, just like the classic Mini did. And as we look at the tires here, we can see the classic problems you're always going to have with these tires. There's still a lot of tread left in the middle, but the inside's all worn thin. These wide tires, low profile, do wear out relatively quickly. But at least being front wheel drive, the rear tires last a lot longer because they're just rolling down the road. Now the modern Minis, being about 3 times heavier than the original Minis, do have one big advantage, and that's in the ride of these things. If you've ever ridden around in a 60s Mini, every time you hit a bump, the fillings of your teeth feel like they're gonna fall out. It was a ragged ride. A fun little car to zip around in, but. And that's where the BMW aspect of the newer Minis comes really into effect. The combination of the weight, the wheelbase, and the BMW designed suspension system. They ride so much better than the old ones did. Now, of course, when the suspension finally does wear out, yes, it's going to cost a small fortune to replace the struts. It's going to be an expensive job because it's all BMW parts, and BMW engineering is much harder to take apart and put together, requires special tools that other manufacturers don't. So, as I said earlier, fixing these things is not a cheap endeavor. Now, I have customers that lease these things, and that's the smartest. The crazy thing about this car is it actually was owned by 2 smart owners so far. The original person leased it, so they didn't take the bump in value, and my customer, who bought it last year, little over a third of what the original sticker price was, and it's got that low mileage on it. But don't be mistaken by some people buying sporty cars thinking, oh, I'll buy a new one, it'll be a collector's item, it'll go up in value. These things are not going to go up in value. They're never going to be true collector's items. What you see is what you get, and if you want a new one, hey, lease it. And if you can find a low mileage one, go ahead and buy it. If you're going to pay like he did, such a small price, then you're not really losing out. But please, listen to Scotty on this one. Do not buy one of these things used with high mileage. You don't want to buy one of these things that's got 100,000 miles on it, unless you get it for practically nothing, and then, you know, what does it matter? I even got people buy Mercedes, 2-3 grand, and they run okay when they buy them. What the heck? They got 2-3 grand. If it goes, they can sell the shell to somebody for $800 or $900. They're not losing that much money, because when they break and they're older, whew. Give you an example. I had a customer with practically the same car as this, was a couple years older, needed a catalytic converter, and the cost of replacing it, parts and labor, was about $2,500. I'm not making this up. $2,500. So now you know the unbridled truth about modern Minis. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.